I'm about as real as they come.
All my beats tailored by Joe. House Digital.
Maserati, Rick in Detroit. Convertible bird in Miami. Graduated summa cum laude. Strip club made a tsunami. Carlton Hines with the ball game. Grateful Edmonds with the snowflakes. Craig Pettis in the M-Town. Sal Magluta with the boat game. Falcone with the cocaine. Like Freeway Ricky with the plug game. Like Monster Cody in South Central. Larry Davis from close range.
Money problems of a different sort. Mayor Dianne Feinstein said today that federal money to help San Francisco fight its drug war is clogged in a bureaucratic pipeline. Unless this line is cleared and the money flows, she said, the city will lose its battle. Here's Bob Serkin.
San Francisco's war on drugs, an uphill battle which this year will cost $25 million in enforcement, addict treatment, and public education. Last year, Congress appropriated $687 million to help financially strapped cities such as San Francisco fight the drug war. But according to this study by the U.S. Conference of Mayors, San Francisco and 41 other drug-ridden cities have yet to see much of that money. For instance, of $225 million designated for drug law enforcement, only Washington, D.C. has received any of it, $800,000 worth. Instead of sending the drug funds directly to cities that need it the most, the government dispenses it through state agencies. The California Office of Criminal Justice and Planning is about to release $11 million of federal drug money. San Francisco is among 100 cities and counties competing for it. Mayor Feinstein is counting on $1 million grant to step up her drug war.
The time is really now. We have a major battle going against narcotics, doubled police manpower, making about 1,200 arrests a month, and we need to be able to sustain this.
Mayor, can you sustain it without that $1 million grant?
We're going to have a hard time, to be very frank with you.
And experts say what federal money has arrived in the past has often been too little and too late. San Francisco Health Department's Dr. Wayne Clark.
I was just on the phone to somebody about the crack problem in our housing authority. It's just horrendous, and we don't have the resources to deal with it, and when we do try to get them, they're a year late. So it's frustrating.
Next week, the state will announce which cities qualify for the federal drug war money. Then it may take another 3 months to get it delivered. Bob Serkin, News Center 4, San Francisco.
Yo, we back. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb ties. We on our way to Cali with it. San Fran. But we gonna get plenty money in Oakland. So I'm gonna need the whole East Bay to tap in below. Now, today we are gonna be covering one of, if not the biggest, to pretty much one of the biggest to come out of the Bay. Man, we think Felix Mitchell. Definitely think Little D. Definitely think James Beasley. It's quite a few names. It's like almost like a Trapper Hall of Fame, like with the Bay Area, for real. But we're going to be covering none other than a legend himself, Rudolph Henderson, or Rudy Henderson, which the whole city knew him as. Now, a little bit about Mr. Henderson. According to authorities and a lot of media outlets, he was, well, first and foremost, they're going to label him a drug kingpin of epic proportions. They also going to say that he was a bodybuilding enthusiast, and in some media outlets or some circles, they said that he was even a competitive bodybuilder. Now that and it's crazy because that somehow would turn out to be his downfall. Now, or a part of the downfall. So a little bit more about you, just to try to give you a highlighted fact about him. In 1989, Mr. Henderson pleaded guilty to a single charge of possession for the sale of 7 kilograms, which is 15.4 pounds of cocaine, and evasion of $115,000 in taxes in 1984. So as part of that guilty plea, he agreed to forfeit his Sonoma County estate, which is that we can almost do a segment on just that house alone, but also 2 luxury cars besides that. And he was originally sentenced to 20 years in prison, but he would end up having that sentence reduced on appeal. Now, just that does not do any justice as far as who Rudy Henderson was, because like I said, you gonna, like, if we put in a number on it, you're gonna have to rank him up there with, well, he's definitely top 3 in that list. So to kind of put it into perspective for you guys, Little D was 16 years old, or allegedly, according to media outlets, Little D, Darryl Reed, was 16 years old when Rudy Henderson was out here doing his thing in the game. And they're gonna say they had a well, they're gonna have information that was brought up in Rudy Henderson's trial that he got 70 kilos and he gave half to Little D, who was 16. And they said he pretty much, I want to say, was a Claremont High School dropout at the time, but he had his own drug organization at that time, breaking in millions and millions of dollars. So, and they're gonna say they had a scale, they're gonna have him under the scale of Rudy Henderson. So that's just the kind of level that we are dealing with. Not only that, they're gonna say he had a direct connection or multiple connections to several cartels, but the one that they highlighted was a guy by the name of Alvario Bacara, who was a U.S. educated Colombian who pretty much arranged volume coke sales here, and he encountered drug agents while he was trying to collect on $1 million drug debt from Rudy Johnson. Now, a little bit more about that $1 million drug debt. Now, by all accounts, Rudy Henderson was getting the cocaine fronted to him. Excuse me. He was getting the cocaine fronted to him by the Colombians in multi-kilogram quantities. So he had a situation where another well-known gang in East Bay, the Hardy Boys, anybody familiar with the Hardy Boys, heard about the Hardy Boys, y'all get in the comment box, where he fronted them. That's not really the situation. Well, he had another drug dealer where he fronted another big time drug dealer, and it wasn't the Hardy Boys. They were tied to another situation we're gonna speak on. He fronted this particular drug dealer $1 million worth of cocaine, or the drug dealer just went to jail allegedly owing Rudy Henderson $1 million. That put him in the hole with the cartels. It came to a situation where he was pretty much frozen out. He was not able to get any drugs because of that large drug debt that he had to the cartels. So, and by all accounts, they showed that he would work it off, paying sometimes as small as 10 kilograms. They even said that where he gave a car to take some of the money off of the drug debt, but he would work and work until he would get that debt down to 500,000. Once he got that down to 500,000, that's when the cartel began to resupply him. And it was at this time where someone that he met during his competitive bodybuilding experiences at a specific gym, a guy by the name of James Milton, that would be influential in his pretty much downfall, because they're going to say James Milton was the link between him and Little D. And how he met James Milton is, James Milton was definitely a competitive bodybuilder, him and his daughter. And Rudy Henderson being in that same circle, he went to the gym, and by some accounts they say that he was almost enamored by James Milton, and James Milton was employed at the gym. But it would come to a situation where James Milton would lose his job at the gym, and by this time he already had been taking trips to Tyson Fights to LA, and also to go work out at Go's Gym on Venice Beach, which is like the bodybuilder mecca. So them two would go there with their entourage. So he knew, once he came on hard times, he knew exactly what to do. And he went to Rudy Henderson, and they said that in the indictment, because he would eventually turn to be an informant against Rudy Henderson. In the indictment, it's going to say that he would go on to front Mr. Milton Keys from anywhere between $20,000 to $22,000, and Milton would bring back that money on consignment. He had a series of dealers that he was working with. They're gonna say Rudy Johnson actually set him up in an apartment in East Oakland, and pretty much from there he would pretty much try to get on his feet. Had some situations where instead of kind of selling the wholesale or distributing it to his distributors, he would put it on the stove and cook it himself. That would take a little bit longer. So, and those transactions, they said Rudy Johnson would charge him a little bit more just for the amount of time that he took. But Mr. Milton's downfall would occur when a rival would end up trying to take over a drug corner or a turf of one of his lieutenants, and a situation where they trying to recoup the corner from the associate or from the people that were trying to take it over. One of James Milton's a shootout occurred, and one of James Milton's associates was killed in that shootout. Time would go by and the FBI would end up on James Milton's door looking to charge him with the murder. But at that same time, they were running an investigation into Rudy Henderson, and they gave James Milton an option. You want to go ahead and try to fight this murder beef, or do you want to go ahead and help us with information against Rudy Henderson? And he chose the latter. He would continue to wear wires, seen in some media outlets where he said the turning point was when he got arrested for said murder charge. He had his daughter ask Rudy Henderson about bail money, and Rudy Henderson declined to take up that offer to pay the bail money, and he will have to use his own $12,000 or his last $12,000 to get free. And pretty much they're going to say he went directly from jail to a payphone to contact the FBI in order to start working with them against Mr. Henderson. So that in itself is just going to be a life lesson, because one was Rudy Henderson supposed to help him? That's the question I asked. And if you guys say, yeah, I can understand that, that's just going to be that situation. But being that he was already being fronted these keys at this low price, would that be considered looking out for somebody already? And would you expect that person to tell on you? But normally that's how it goes. But yeah, so that happened. He would end up having, he would get enough information that the government would end up charging Rudy Henderson. Like I said, in 1989, he was sentenced to 20 years, but he had his conviction reduced. So he pretty much served, compared to people that moved the amount of drugs that he moved or was involved with, he served a little bit of time, even though 2 days is a lot of time. He served a considerably lower amount than some of the people that we covered on Montage. Let's put it out that he served a lower enough sentence to where he was able to be released from jail, and he opened up he was selling cars pretty much. He opened up like a car lot, and a series of unfortunate events in 2012, it looks like his son was at a red light somewhere in LA, and he end up being carjacked, and he was murdered over I want to say an LS300, and it was a car that was borrowed from his father's car lot, and the name of the car lot they're going to say was Rudy's Beauties. And on top of that, months later, Rudy Henderson would end up being shot and murdered, which was totally like far. It's just, I don't know. I just couldn't believe that after he went in jail, served his time, came out, and this was in 2000. He was shot to death in 2006 at the age of 57. So it's just crazy. And I want to retract that. Yeah, I said his son was in 2012. Yeah, it was actually 2006 where his son was killed. And it pretty much happened at 5 p.m. broad daylight in the 800 block of 60th Street. So that's crazy. And it was 8 months apart. So his son was 25 years old, and he happened to be carjacked in East Oakland was his son. So that just goes to show you how the game come full circle. Shout out to everybody in Oakland. Shout out to the Hendersons. If it's any of y'all still in Oakland, everybody from the East Bay, y'all get in the comment box. Let y'all know what y'all think. Who did I miss? Who's the next one that we need to cover? We getting down to the real trill spill. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. It's your boy Popalot, POP_A_LOT. Y'all hit the bell under this video for more. Let y'all know when the real shit is dropping. And I'm going to be back. Y'all know what it is. The Mobb. Mobb. Ties.